Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. I am John Schmeelk. Hi, I'm John. Nice to meet you. I haven't hosted a show with Matt Citak since the offseason, I don't think.
It's been a while.
It's good to have you.
Yeah.
How's everything?
Nice to sit next to you up here.
Absolutely. Taking your phone calls at 201-939-4513. So, despite the assumption that a lot of people made that Jackson Dora will be starting on Sunday, we got word from Mike Kafka about an hour ago that he is still not out of concussion protocol, and he'll continue to go through it. But in the meantime, Jameis Winston will be the starting quarterback this week against the Lions. If he cleared protocol, Jackson will be starting. He has not cleared protocol yet. So it'll be Jameis Winston, and we talked about this during media availabilities in the locker room yesterday, Matt. The fact that he went a second straight day as a non-contact kind of put the little antenna up for me that something might be up here, and maybe he's not going to quite be ready. Because usually once you start down that advancement path, you like to see the player continue. And once he kind of repeated that same step again, it told me that, all right, maybe it's not as close as we think it is.
Yeah, I feel like for every other guy that has gotten a concussion on the Giants, at least this season, when we saw him, that person return as a limited participant, non-contact one day, the next day they progressed to full. Like, I think the last guy that was JMS happened a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So when obviously, well, first, last Friday, the fact that Jackson was just out there at all, he's listed as a DNP last Friday, but the fact that he was out there at all, I think everyone took that as an encouraging sign. And then to get back on the practice field as a limited participant on Wednesday, yeah, I think at that point, at least 48 hours ago, sort of set us up with the expectation that Jackson would be back. But as you said yesterday, the fact that he was limited again, which before we even got the injury report, just the way that Kafka kind of spoke about the situation made it sound like, that Jackson had not progressed to that next level. And then sure enough, that was the case. And then, today he just came out and said Jackson has been ruled out. He's not through the concussion protocol. He's still working through it. Kafka made it very clear that this decision for Jackson to be out and Jameis to start was purely based on the fact that he is not through the concussion protocol. It was not based on, Giants being 2-9 and just wanting to be cautious. Kafka made it clear Jackson has not been cleared to return to the field, and that is why Jameis is starting.
Yeah, and look, this stuff can take time. C.J. Stroud just missed his third straight game because of a concussion. Now, a little different. They played on Thursday this week. The Giants play on Monday next week, so that's a 4-day difference. That could be a big difference in terms of concussion. So we'll see how it goes with Jackson next week to see whether or not he's going to play against the New England Patriots. So let's go through this matchup here, Matt. And
well, real quick.
Yes, please.
Just because it kind of got breezed over even during the media session, but Kafka did
not playing.
Rule out a few other players, a couple of notable guys. Paulson Adebo got ruled out, which
we expected,
quite frankly, after what happened pregame last week and then not participating in practice, that's not a surprise. Kayvon Thibodeau was also ruled out. That one, and we haven't really gotten much word about what is going on there. We just know he's suffered a shoulder injury.
And we have not seen him on the practice field.
Yeah, he's yet to practice, so it was clearly trending in that direction as well. And then Thomas Fidone was ruled out. He suffered a foot injury, I believe it was in Week 10 against the Bears.
Mm-hmm. The one game that he played significant action in, offensively at least.
And then it was just those four, right?
Those are the guys that
he ruled out.
Yes.
Now, we'll see when the final injury report comes out in about 2 hours or so.
He seemed to indicate he feels okay about Slayton and Newbin. He thinks they have a chance to make it back for this game.
Yeah, the fact that Slayton was limited yesterday, I would say, trending in the right direction. Obviously, with hamstring injuries, and especially to wide receivers, you never know, but he seems to be trending in the right direction.
And with Newbin back, I wonder if we're going to see some more if Newbin comes back, I'm wondering if we might see some more three safety stuff with Belton closer to the box. They're short at linebacker. Maybe that's a way to get one of their safeties on the field and have one of the linebackers off. So something to keep an eye on as the Giants take on the Lions this week. So, Matt, I'm going to be just pretty straightforward about this. This might be the Giants' toughest game they're going to play all year. They're on the road against a really good team. The Lions, if you look at any metric, are top 10 in both offense and defense. You don't have many teams in the league that are that this year. They are. You try to find the one big weakness to exploit. It's hard to find one. Maybe the interior of their offensive line is one of them, but still, they're just a very, very well-coached, good all-around team that can run it, that can pass it, that can defend the run, they can defend the pass. And it's hard, and they're very aggressive in how they play on both sides of the ball. They're very physical. It's hard to find an area here to attack if you're the Giants trying to figure out a way to win this week in Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, we all know the Lions offense has been very good for years now, but I looked this up. I did not realize quite how good they have been. Since the start of the 2022 season, they have been a top 5 offense in points and yards every year. This year being the 4th consecutive season that they have reached this feat. Obviously, we're still got 6 games to go, but their offense is just a juggernaut. And, it starts with the run game. They don't make it any secret that they want to run the football. They want to run it early. They want to run it often. And quite frankly, when you have that offensive line and the talented running back duo that they have, how can you blame them?
Now, no Sam Laporta, so that makes it a little bit different at tight end.
Yes, for sure. And it does take away one of Jared Goff's premier pass catchers, but it helps him out that he also has 2 very talented wide receivers, one of which is one of the best wide receivers in the entire NFL in Amon-Ra St. Brown. Leads the Lions by a wide margin in every single receiving category, and is among the league leaders in basically every single receiving category.
Targets, receptions, 8th in targets.
Targets, receptions, receiving yards, second in receiving touchdowns in the NFL.
Yep.
He's amazing. And Jameis Williams has really turned it on lately. The last 5 games, in 4 of the 5 games, he has no less than 4 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown in 4 of the last 5.
And 3rd in the league in yards per reception, 18 yards per catch. He is a big play machine.
Yeah, I mean, anytime he gets the ball in his hands, like, he has the potential to take it 75 yards to the house. So you got to be careful and watch out for his speed. And Dan Campbell's taken over play calling the last couple of games for Detroit. And especially since he took over, he has made a big effort to get Jameson Williams the ball. And we have seen Jameson Williams' production increase the last couple of weeks because of it. So there's, in terms of slowing down this offense, it's a challenge for any team. We did just see the Eagles limit them to 9 points. The first time the Lions offense has been held to single digits on offense in about 2 years, which honestly, that scares me because they have won, I believe was it like 13 straight games coming off of a loss, which is tied for the 3rd longest streak.
13 straight wins coming off of a loss. It's the 3rd longest streak. The only 2 teams with longer streaks are the Ravens from 2009 to 12 and the Broncos from 1984 to 1988.
Yeah, so it's not good facing them coming off a loss, but especially a loss in which the offense looks so bad. Jared Goff had one of his worst games in years. I think his completion percentage was like 37%. They only scored 9 points. You better believe Dan Campbell is going to want to have that offense firing on all cylinders. They're going to come out wanting to drop, 40, 50 points on Sunday. And it's going to be up to the Giants defense to really step up and prevent them from doing that.
And desperation might be too strong of a word in week 12, but right now the Lions are not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're 6-4.
Yep.
They are behind in the wild card race, the Seahawks, the Packers, and the 49ers. A game or a half a game behind all 3 of those teams.
Now, the NFC North is very tight. Mm-hmm. That race for the top, I believe they're only 1 game out from first place.
7-3 Bears.
And they still play, I believe, all 3 of the divisional opponents again. So I would be shocked if they don't end up making the playoffs.
Yeah, but you got to win the games in front of you.
No, 100%.
I agree.
But just on the flip side, in terms of the Giants offense going against the Lions defense, the Lions defense is a little bit, not quite so much, but a little bit of a pass funnel unit. Because up front, they are super talented. They have so many guys up front that make it very, very difficult to run the football. And while their pass defense has had some mixed results, they're top 10 in yards allowed, but they have also allowed, I believe it's like the 8th most passing touchdowns. And a reason for that is because right now, at least, their secondary is decimated. It kind of looks like our secondary in terms of just injuries. They've had, last week they were missing 3 of their 4 starting defensive backs. Terry and Arnold, the cornerback, out with a concussion, has yet to practice this week.
Doesn't sound like he's going to play.
It does not seem like it. The fact that he hasn't even been limited so far puts him on the wrong side of, questionable. Kirby Joseph, their safety, has also not practiced at all this week after missing last week with a knee injury. And then there's DJ Reed, the very talented cornerback who has suffered a hamstring injury. I believe he's been on injured reserve. And
since week 4, I think.
Yeah, for a while. He has been practicing this week, but limited.
I talked to Tim Twentyman, who covers the Lions for their website this morning.
Did an interview with him on Wednesday.
Oh, he talked to you
For
on
the
Wednesday. He
Lions
told me
podcast.
he talked to one of my compatriots here, so I guess he talked to you. And he said he think it looks like Reed might be back this week.
Really?
Yes.
Even if he doesn't get upgraded to a full participant?
He told me this morning that they feel good about Reed playing. So we'll see if that happens or not.
Oh, it'd be great if they held him out one more week. We don't need DJ Reed out there. Well, regardless, even if DJ Reed does return, they still will be without half of their starting secondary. And Brian Branch, who has been playing, did suffer a toe injury, was a DNP on Wednesday, got back to limited yesterday. He probably will play, but
he told me he's playing.
Doesn't seem like he will be playing at 100% at least.
Yeah, but look, even with those guys out, look what they did against the Eagles on Monday night. Now, granted, the Eagles' pass game this year has not been great.
And the conditions in that game were quite bad.
The win was brutal. That's true. And I asked him, look, and then you can find this. Is the audio up yet on the John Settle podcast, Pearson? So the audio interview with Tim is up in the John Settle podcast right now. The audio feed. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, please. And I said, has all these injuries altered the way they scheme the secondary? Because the Lions have one of the highest man-to-man rates and one of the highest press-man rates in the league. And he goes, nope. They're going to run the exact same way. And Rocky Sin, who stepped in, has done a really nice job.
Yes, he has.
Amik Robertson has moved from the slot to outside. He's done a nice job. So he says that, look, they're going to come out there, and especially against a Giants wide receiver core here that does not have Malik Neighbors and doesn't have that one guy that you really... Look, if you're willing to go out there and play press man against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, they're sure as hell going to be willing to go out there and play press man against the wide receivers the Giants are rolling out there, right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
I think this is going to be one of those games where, and it's really the first time we're going to see it, a team is going to come out, play press man, and really try to choke out this Giants passing attack and give them very few easy options, right? It's not, all right, Wandell, go sit in hook curl between the safeties and the linebackers and the corners and try to find that hole in the defense. This is going to be, look, this guy's going to man you up, and you're going to have to win one-on-one. So I think the onus ends up falling on guys like Slayton, guys like Robinson, who have the quickness and or speed to win those one-on-one matchups, and maybe Theo Johnson. The Lions play a lot of base. They have 3 linebackers on the field more than any other team in the National Football League. They'll play Anzalone, they'll play Barnes, and they will play Campbell 60% of the time.
And Malcolm Rodriguez could be back this week, too.
He could be back, too. So can you get the tight end in favorable matchups against maybe some of those linebackers, too? So somebody, in terms of the perimeter weapons, Matt, are going to have to win one-on-one because that's how the Lions are going to challenge you.
Yeah, maybe Isaiah Hodgins, who was the team's leading receiver last week. And
it's tough with that. He doesn't have a ton of speed. That's why it's tough to depend on him. But he does have the size for it.
Yeah, and I just want to bring him up just because he deserves so many props and kudos for what he did last week, getting here on Thursday.
Also on the John Soto podcast, by the way. Check it out.
72 hours later, being the team's leading receiver and literally looking like he didn't miss a beat from the end of the 2022 season, even though it's obviously been a couple of years. But yeah, all of those guys are going to have to really step up because I don't know how much success Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary are going to have on the ground this week. It's going to be a tough matchup. Now, we did say that last week about the Packers defense, and Tracy put together his best game of the season, and Singletary was solid as well. They found the end zone, so who knows? But yeah, it's going to be really up to those pass catchers on the outside. They're going to have to really step up. But just what you were saying about the Lions defense and how they've had all these injuries and haven't changed the scheme. Kelvin Shepard is a really good defensive coordinator. Former Giant linebacker for one season, Kelvin Shepard.
Were you here when he was here at all or
no?
No,
that was a couple of years before me.
Dude, really good dude, too. Really good
and
guy.
He's a really good
Smart
defensive coordinator.
Yeah. He really is. And look, it might not be this year because it's his first year as a coordinator. His name is going to start getting mentioned in terms of head coaching opportunities. Because I think, generally speaking, decision makers like the idea of a former player being in that seat because they understand how it works. They can relate to the players more. They can put themselves in the player's seat to figure out how that stuff works. So it would not shock me if his, again, maybe not this year because it's year one for him and, they usually like to let guys grow in the position a little bit. He can't even be 40 years old, can he?
He was playing here 10 years ago, I believe. 10 or...
Look, I'm going to guess he's 37.
He's 37 years old.
Okay, that's what I figured. So
that was a nice guess.
Again, a little young, so maybe not quite yet, but again, I think he could definitely be a candidate here. And then, of course, you mentioned how good the front is. We should mention some of the names. Aleem McNeil, excellent. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson leads the NFL in pressures this year.
Yep.
Broke his leg last year. You couldn't tell. The guy's unbelievable.
He was also on his way to, in my opinion, winning Defensive Player of the Year prior to that injury.
I agree. I'm with you on that.
He was just an absolute wrecking ball. I think he had 7.5 sacks in the first 5 games of the season before that broken leg. And he clearly is 100% full health now because, once again, the sack numbers may not be as high as Myles Garrett or Brian Burns, but as you mentioned, leads the league in pressures. He just gets after the quarterback every single snap.
And his motor is just endless. The guy just runs, and he's like Brian Burns. He plays with that type of motor. Tyleik Williams, very talented rookie.
Struggling, though.
Shout out Dan Salamone. And then DJ Reader, who's a very good interior defensive lineman. So they have a lot of really good players up front, and again, they're going to put the pressure on you. We talked about both these guys being aggressive. If you were to put an over-under on the number of times combined these two teams go for it on 4th down in this game, what would you put the over-under at?
Ooh, 7.5. Well, I'm just thinking last week the Lions went for it 5 times alone, and the fact that they went 0 for 5 makes me think Dan Campbell's going to want to come out and any chance he gets. If it's like anything less than, I would say maybe 4th and 5, they're going to be going for it, unless they're on their own 20-yard line.
Isn't it unbelievable, by the way, how many times the Giants have played a good team coming off of a bad loss this year?
Yeah, second straight time we're playing a good team coming off a bad loss to the Eagles.
I know. And then you had the Chiefs in week 3 where they were trying not to lose for the 3rd straight time since I think Patrick Mahomes got there. Were the Chargers coming off a loss that week? I don't quite remember.
No, they started 3-0.
They came off a win. I feel like the Eagles came off a loss the first time the Giants played them. They were coming off their first loss of the year. Is that
to the
correct?
Broncos.
I thought I remembered that. So they keep playing these good teams off of losses. Can we not maybe keep doing that? Anyway, by the way, I did the math. I was testing Citak and Salamone on this. So I went back. We talked about it. The Giants had the toughest schedule in the league heading into this year. And we always noted that, look, it depends on who you're playing, when you're playing them. And a lot of times the records last year doesn't dictate to the records this year. What was it, 9th? Is that the number I came up with that I told you guys? They had the 9th hardest schedule this year so far, the Giants. Or was it the 4th?
I think it was 5th.
It was 5th? Was it 5th?
I think.
So they still, despite the fact that things change year to year, yeah, I think it was 5th. It was 5th. They had the 5th hardest schedule in terms of purely based on opponent winning percentage in the NFL this year. So it has, in fact, been a tough schedule. Just think about it.
Yeah.
Chargers still good. Chiefs still good. Broncos still good. Eagles still good. Dallas a little bit better this year than they were last year. The Patriots have obviously played much better. The Niners have obviously played a lot better. So a lot of those teams that even were on the low point of the schedule have played a lot better than the record might indicate. So
and most of the teams that were not all, but most of the teams that were on the lower end of the spectrum in terms of opponents are after the bye. Those last 4-game stretch that the Giants have, Washington. Before the season, Minnesota obviously had a tough strength of schedule because they had a lot of success last year, but obviously not going so well in Minnesota this year. But Washington, Minnesota, Las Vegas, and then Dallas, which
under 500,
better than last year, but yeah, still under 500.
Now those numbers are included in the overall strength of schedule.
Oh, they
are. So those games are included, but it speaks to the fact that the teams the Giants have played so far. Imagine, I haven't looked at it, but if you take those teams' records out of it. Imagine how tough the strength of schedule would be for the teams that they've already played. It's probably close to 650. If you take out the Commanders, the Raiders, the Cowboys, I mean, that's...
We did play
the
the Commanders week 1.
True, but you have to take out half of that.
Outside of the Saints, all these other teams are over 500.
And over...
Washington and Dallas, and then
the
Saints.
But well over 500, too. Like, at least 2 games over 500 for all those teams. So... Has not been an easy schedule, and of course we joke that the Patriots will be. Oh, can you get the Patriots on the year? There'll be a soft spot. Yeah, well, how's that going right now? They're in track to be the number 1 seed in the AFC, which is absolutely bonkers. Anything else on this game before we get to the calls?
No, let's get to it.
All right, let's do it. 201-939-4513. 201-939-4513. Let's go to Giovanni in Jacksonville. Giovanni, what's up? Giovanni, go on. Yeah, what's up?
Hey, Matt, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Hey, so I'm just calling because I think even though a lot of Giants fans might be mixed on like Dart being rolled out, I think it's really good, just because it gives them time to heal, recover. We need to rush him back because we'll see what Jameis Winston can do. Like, I have a lot of faith in him. I'm sure everyone does. But, like, if you really think about it, the Packers are a top 10 defense, and Jameis did relatively well considering, you know, the 3 or 4 throws that he did potentially have an interception on. I mean, we got lucky in those drops. But if you want to be optimistic about it, I mean, if there's anyone who can play against his defense, it's Jameis, and he's going to sling it. I'm pretty sure he's going to have a handful of attempts, but I have a lot of faith in Jameis. I think he'll play really well.
No, I agree with you. I think you have to just be cautious with Dart. Let him get through the protocol. Don't rush him back. And look, I think Jameis will certainly give them a chance to win as long as he doesn't throw it to the other team. I think my disappointment comes from the fact that I just wanted to see Jackson against the 2 best defenses remaining on the schedule, which was the Packers last week and now the Lions this week, and we're not going to get to see how he does against those top-tier defenses. The same way I was excited to see him play against the Broncos, who have one of the best defenses in the league. It's just something I would have liked to see him go through, just as you start to see a rookie quarterback develop. You know what I mean?
More about getting valuable game reps.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, I think a lot of Giants fans believe Dart's the guy, and I don't think there's any doubt, but I agree. It would have been really entertaining to see how he competes against top 10 defenses, because the Lions are top 8 in defense right now in rushing and offense. And then the only way the Giants are going to stay in this game is special teams. They show out, and third down is going to be huge because, like you guys said, like, and Campbell's going to go out on fourth down no matter what. So I think the Giants defense has to really step up and play their best ball, especially before the Patriots next week. So I think they can do it. I have a lot of faith in the team. I know it's, you know, rough times right now, but I mean, there's reasons to be optimistic too. So that's all I got to say. But, yeah, go Big Blue.
Thanks, Giovanni. Appreciate the call.
Thank
Believe
you.
it or not, the Lions are 26th in the National Football League in terms of third down efficiency and offense, which you wouldn't think, or 27th, pardon me, at 36%. So you wouldn't think that a team as talented as Detroit would struggle on third downs, but they've had a lot of issues converting on. I wonder if that was one of the reasons Campbell took over play calling. He didn't like the third down conversion stuff.
Yeah. But on the flip side, their defense on third down has been one of the best in the NFL.
Correct.
Ranked 4th, and even the fourth down defense ranks 10th. So the defense steps up in the key situations, and despite their, you know, somewhat struggles on those key situations on offense, I'm not putting any like doubt towards that offense being able to just flip a switch like that and just get things going.
And just to your point, Giovanni, about Dart, and I've said this before, I just want to reiterate it. He's played in 7 games. I think we all feel good about what we've seen in those 7 games. I think we all agree that we've seen enough natural ability and talent to think that he can become the quarterback of the future, and a high-level one at that, whether it's the natural pocket feel, the mobility. He's got a good enough arm for sure. It's not a Josh Allen arm, but no one has a Josh Allen arm. So I think we all feel good about it. But, and I want to speak for Citak, but I'm never sure about anything after just 7 games. Like 7 games is a small sample size. We saw C.J. Stroud for a full season be like, wasn't he top 5 MVP that year? I think so, C.J. Stroud, and hasn't looked as good since. So let's see more. I like what I've seen. Continue to develop him, but remember, 7 games in the National Football League is still just 7 games in the National Football League. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, undoubtedly, it's been a great start to his career, but it has been far from perfect. I mean, there's definitely certain areas that you could pinpoint saying, you know, he needs to definitely work on this in order to take his game to another level.
By the way, he would say that too, by the way.
100%. You know, I mean, if you look at his like deep passing numbers, those aren't that good. And obviously the greatest thing in my opinion about Eli Manning, and this was the old saying, but the greatest ability is availability. Eli was here ready to go every single week throughout his career. Jackson obviously also needs to learn how to take away some of the risk of the hits that he takes, and not just, the running is obviously a big aspect of his game, and no one wants him to completely remove that. But we've seen it with Josh Allen, with early in his career, with the amount he ran and his just willingness to take hits every single time he ran with the ball, to now where he obviously still takes some hits, but he puts himself out of those situations where he's taking a big hit basically every single time he runs the ball. So it's definitely been an encouraging start to the career for Jackson Dart. We're all very excited especially for next year when Malik Neighbors hopefully will be back healthy, Cam Scadaboo will hopefully be back healthy, and who knows what other playmakers get added to this group. So it's definitely been encouraging. I agree with you that, I've been fooled about various things since my time working here. This is my 7th season, where I made a declaration.
Seen too much.
I made a declaration after 1 year, and it just completely backfired pretty quickly. So I'm not going to do that again. I need to see a little bit more. But no doubt about it, it's been a very good start.
And by the way, it works the other way too, where guys have been really bad in their first year, then they end up being good players. Like it happens. Like if you would have told me after his first year that Mikey McFadden would be as good as he was after his 3rd season, I would have told you were crazy. I never thought that would have happened.
What about after the first, 2 years of Dexter Lawrence's career that he would be an All-Pro?
Yeah. Yeah, and look, and even like
I think even those beginning of his career, he was like solid, but I don't think anyone thought this guy is, consistent All-Pro talent, which he was for a few years. Yeah. Obviously, a bit of a down season this year, but the talent is still there.
I mean, Cordell Flott, too. He took a big jump in year 4. So you just never know what the timing is going to look like for these guys as you move forward here.
And here's another guy, and I don't want this to be controversial, but JMS has taken a step this year from the first 2 seasons of his career. Obviously, still got a way to go, but he's looked a lot better this year.
This has been his best year by far. That's for sure. Again, is he where he wanted to be at? No, but he's certainly gotten better. Remember, too, and I can't believe I'm saying this about a Giants quarterback, but it's true. Jackson Dart has actually played behind really good protection. And while Scadaboo was healthy, a really good running game. So what does Dart look like if the protection falters or the running game's not there? So these are all things that you have to figure out. And that's what happened with Stroud, right? Like his offensive line completely fell apart, and then he couldn't deal with that. Now, Dart's much more mobile. He has good pocket presence. I think he could, but we haven't seen it yet. So it's just a lot of things to still see as he develops. Again, I'm not trying to tamper enthusiasm. Everyone should be super excited. But remember, 7 games is, in fact, just 7 games. All right, let's go to Marcus in California. Marcus, what's going on?
Oh, nothing. I just want to say that I brought up the draft, John, 2 weeks before the 17th, so I told Pearson to adjust the notes.
Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate that.
But you did agree with me in the draft when I brought it up. We do need to get better on the offensive line and another wide receiver, but that's pretty much it, dude. I hope we go out and upset the Lions, and that's pretty much it. Hope John Mayer's getting better.
Thank you. Right. Marcus planting his flag as the earliest person to bring up the draft. I'm not sure if that's something to be proud of, Marcus, to be totally honest with you, but good for you, I guess.
Thank you for the call, Marcus.
Yes. We actually did have we were talking about draft season upstairs yesterday, up in Citak's part of the office. And look, Jordan Reed came out with his top 50 this morning, which I know you were perusing. Dane Brugler had his a couple weeks ago. We did Tony's top 25 on our show this week, draft season. Go check it out, by the way. Podcast platforms, Giants YouTube channel, all that, Giants.com, Giants app. And these lists are all very different. It's not like a uniform top 10. Like Jordan had the second Utah offensive tackle ahead of Fano, and other guys have Fano like 15 spots ahead of the other one. Maui Noah, the Miami offensive lineman. Some people have him as a guard, like Jordan. Some people have him a tackle. What wide receiver is the top wide receiver? Is it Jordan Tyson? Is it Carnell Tate? Do you like somebody else? There's a lot of stuff very much up in the air here as this draft class sorts itself out. The quarterbacks are on different orders. Some people like Simpson. Some people like Moore. Some people like Mendoza. So it's very unstable in the top 8 or so. And I think how the college football, you made this point upstairs, how the college football playoffs goes will have a really big impact on what happens here. And then how the postseason goes. I bet you a lot of these guys are going to say yes to all these events. Like Senior Bowl, because if nobody's set, you can move a lot. And that means making a lot more money on that rookie contract. So I think it's going to be a very exciting draft season this year as guys try to fight their way into the top 5 in a lot of these draft orders.
Yeah, at least as of right now, there's no set top 3-5 guys. Like as you mentioned, everyone has different players on the top of their rankings. Now, it tends to happen where as we get closer to the draft, guys tend to separate themselves from the others, and there does seem to be at least some clarity on a couple of the guys that are pretty much for sure going to be top 5 picks.
Arvell Reese would be one of those guys.
I was going to say, on all those different lists and rankings, at least one name that is pretty consistently near the top, is Orville Reese,
And
which makes Dan Salamone upstairs quite happy.
Yes, and but two other guys that are consistently in the top 10, but again, look at their positions. Running back Jeremiah Love and safety Caleb Downs.
Yeah.
But again, we don't want to relitigate 2017 again. But how high do you pick a running back? How high do you pick a safety? We had this conversation about Kyle Hamilton a few years ago, right? Yeah. So whenever you see running backs and safeties in the top 10s of these mock drafts, it should tell you that might be a little bit of an iffy draft at the top.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But after watching some Ohio State games, because of Dan making me, basically, assigning me homework, I got to say, Orville Reese in this defense wouldn't be the worst thing.
Where'd you play him?
All over.
I've heard that
you could
before.
Use him
That's
at
scary.
Edge. Primarily, I would say off-ball linebacker,
man.
but
you know
line
what?
him up sometimes on the edge.
I know Giant fans will not like to hear me say this, but I believe the Giants will probably win one or two too many games in the final 6 to have that high of a draft pick. And it's funny. It comes full circle here. I mentioned their high strength of schedule. That's going to hurt them in the tiebreaker for these draft picks because the better the strength of schedule, you're going to lose your tiebreaker against the other teams. The lower your strength of schedule, the better your tiebreaker chances are when they have two teams with identical records.
No, I do think I saw this, though, that there are a few matchups in the last 6-7 weeks of the season where it's two of the teams that are currently in the top, 5, 6, 7.
Oh, absolutely, there are, for sure. Yep.
So obviously, barring a tie, someone's going to end up winning that game and move down the draft order.
Well, for example, you had Browns Jets last week, right? I mean, one of those teams had to win that game, and both those teams are right in the mix there. So
Browns Raiders, I believe, is this week.
Browns Raiders, that's another one. Exactly right. I was actually just about looking it up. I thought Saints Falcons, that's another one.
Except that Falcons pick is going to the Rams, which is scary. The Rams could be in the Super Bowl and also get a top 5 to 10 pick. It's crazy.
That's why you don't trade future first-round picks unless you're picking a quarterback.
Yeah,
that is my rule of thumb.
They did it for James Pierce.
Yep.
How's that looking?
Never say, we're
10 games.
Our record's going to be good. We can trade our first-round pick. I believe that is what you term famous last words. As a fan of the Knicks, I experienced that many times over of trading future first-round picks. It rarely works out. And yes, I am scarred permanently from that experience. Thank you, Eddie Curry. Let's go to Lucas in New Jersey. He's up next. What's up, Lucas?
Yo, what up, guys?
What's up?
A quick thing I wanted to workshop off of you.
Sure.
If I were the defensive coach and with the group that we have, I was thinking, how could I optimize against the run? So I was thinking, keep Dexter in the middle. Next to him, put who really cares? Put Elijah Chapman. At the edge, put Jordan Riley to just be beefy, and then Burns, I'm not taking him away from the line, but he's going to have his hand in the dirt like a DN, like a, classic DN. So those are the 4 I'd leave in the dirt. And then you're thinking, who's going to be the Mike? Mike Okereke. Thibodeau, I'm putting him as the will of the Sam, doesn't matter, and Abdul, same. Just to try it out. I know it's unconventional, but for me, Abdul's having trouble getting across. He's having a little trouble, getting sacks and whatnot. I would just mix it up, and I'd send one of those. I'd probably send either Abdul or Hibbs from that linebacker position pretty frequently as that 5th person in the rush. I just wanted to see what you thought about that.
Yeah, Lucas, what we saw when they went against teams that played a lot of 2 tight end offense, 12 personnel. We saw the Giants the last few weeks use a lot more base personnel on defense, and when healthy now, and some guys are injured, so it's not going to look exactly like this. We saw the 3 guys in the middle. We saw Dex, Roy Robertson Harris, and Nacho. We saw Burns and Thibodeau on the edges in the 5-man front, and then you had Okereke and it was Musau before he got hurt. Now it's Demetrius Flanagan Fowles as your 2 inside linebackers. So they tried to use big people in those situations, and actually and look, it might have changed as of 2 or 3 weeks ago when I first did this equation. I tried to look at the Giants' run defense stats, and what I used was EPA per rush. This is kind of an overarching efficiency number on defense. They were actually better stopping the run in nickel than they were in base, which was surprising when Yeah. So I don't know if that has to do with the fact that other teams were also in light personnel. So they just did better when other teams had 3 wide receivers on the field. And when 2 tight ends were on the field, the Giants had more trouble. But from an EPA per basis, and again, this was a few weeks ago. This might have changed since then. They were actually better against the run and nickel than they were in base. So you can take that for whatever it's worth.
No, I hear you. But good show, good points, good energy. And I think like this, before the season started, my main goal was just not to watch garbage. And I don't think I watched garbage this year. I think that, 90% of the games, we had a lead. It felt good. A little dramatic that, like, you're at the cusp of, like, really turning the tide if you do stuff right in the fourth quarter, I guess, maybe the decision not to play, dart in the beginning kind of led to it, whatever it was. But at least from a pure product perspective, it's been a better product. And like everyone's saying, we got the quarterback. My buddy was like, hey, who do we draft? I was like, it doesn't really matter who we draft.
Oh, yes, it does.
I don't really care. I really don't care.
Well, no, Lucas, doesn't matter who, but the player better be good. The player has to be good. Look, I'm with you. I don't necessarily care what position, but the player, look, you need to keep drafting good players. That's how you build the team.
That's what I'm saying.
And one of the reasons this year, you haven't had the guys that you drafted previously continue that linear improvement arc, right? Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I think you have had some. And look, I always say this every year, and I know Citak gets tired of me saying it. You don't win because of the guys you draft that year. You win because of the guys you drafted 2 and 3 years prior to that are still on their rookie contracts. Those are the guys that make a difference. Tiki Barber says this. He has scarred this into my soul. Tiki Barber says this all the time. I hate rookies. You cannot depend on them. They don't know what they're doing. You cannot build your team's success around what rookies do for you. So I will go with Tiki, and you have to develop, but you have to make sure you draft good players that you develop into better players. That's what you need to do if you want to sustain success.
Have you noticed that rookies are getting more and more incompetent?
But look, I mean, just draft good players. Citak, that's what you got to do. You got to keep drafting good players. And if you keep drafting good players, that's how you build your roster. And you can't plug holes in free agency. The key is that you want to draft the guys, and those are the guys that become your starters. You don't want to have to fill those spots in free agency if you don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the best teams in the NFL, it's teams that were, for the most part, built in the draft. Obviously, once you get a good core of players that you drafted on those rookie contracts, then you can fill out the rest of the roster with free agents, with bigger signing guys. But if you don't hit it in the draft, you don't have much of a chance to succeed in the NFL, because your roster, the way to build a strong roster is by, as you mentioned, taking advantage of those talented players on rookie contracts. So if you have the predominant number of guys on those rookie contracts that are not playing up to expectations, that are not playing that well, it doesn't matter who you surround them with, that team is just not going to find success, not consistently at least.
And by the way, that's an organizational thing, right? That's not just the front office, but it's the coach's job to develop the players too. Yeah. So and it's also the players' responsibility to continue to get better. So that is an everything deal. I'm not trying to point fingers. That is, everyone contributes to that, and that's what you got to do in order to be a consistent organization. Just look at the Ravens and the Eagles. All they do, and even though they haven't had success to an extent, the Dallas Cowboys, where they just continue to build comp picks, right? And they draft guys that don't sign, they lose them, you get comp picks. Look at the teams that get the most comp picks every year. It's because they draft and they develop to the point where they're able to let guys leave. The Eagles just traded a third-round pick for Jalen Phillips. You know why they were able to trade a third-round pick for Jalen Phillips? They have like 12 picks in next year's draft because they got 1 million comp picks coming their way.
He's a pending free agent, right?
Correct.
So if he signs somewhere else on a big deal, they'll get a comp pick back.
Bingo.
In the following year's draft, but still, that's how they stockpile all these draft picks.
No, 100% right. All right, let's go to Julian in Florida. He's up next. Hi, Julian.
Hey, guys. How you doing? I might disagree a little bit about the rookie thing. I mean, if we really look at it, like Jackson Dart came in and Scadaboo came in, and we beat the Eagles on Thursday night. I mean, sometimes rookies can be plugged in and can play well right off the bat. But I get what you guys are trying to say, and whatnot. But that's distraction from the.
No, I will say this, Julian. I will say this: running backs to me are an exception to that rule. I think running backs, and Lucas actually asked that question. We didn't answer it. Are rookies becoming more incompetent early in their careers? I think it depends on who the rookie is and what program he comes from in college and what they're asking of him. I think some positions, yes. Other positions, no. I think running back, Julian, to your point, is a plug-and-play position. You can draft the running back, you can plug them right in, you can be okay. But other positions, I think, again, depending on where they come from, I think it can be a little bit more difficult.
And just real quick, going back to Lucas's question as well, I don't know if it's that rookies are more incompetent now, but it seems like in the last, maybe 5-6 years, expectations for rookies have shifted significantly. Where now everyone expects these rookies to step in and be these significant contributors and the best players on the team right away, when it was just a couple of years ago where you would say, like, wait till a guy hits year 2 or year 3, and then that's when he's, like, reaching his peak and you can really rely on him. Now everyone just expects...
I think it depends a lot on position. And
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Obviously, not every position is like that, but it does seem like just overall people expect rookies to step in.
Like, that takes 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, and then look, just as an example, like Dallas Turner is someone that came out last year, and he gave the Vikings absolutely nothing. I mean, it was like a huge disappointment, and now he's having a pretty good year this year in year 2. So it just takes these guys sometimes to just kind of get going a little bit. Anyway, that wasn't your point. You have a different one, Julian. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a point driving down the highway here, and then I lost it with all the callers coming in. But it's all good. It's always good to talk to you guys. But like, kind of going back to this, I'm curious why. And now I'm really hopping everywhere, but I'm curious why, a lot of people are going after Joe Schoen's head, and I totally understand that when you're sitting at a GM position, it always starts at the top when you have a lot of problems going on with the team. At first it goes to the coach, and then it goes all the way up. But I think people forget that as much as he missed on some draft picks, we also hit on a lot of other ones too. Now, the whole Jackson Dart thing that came out on video from Hard Knocks or whatever it was, I think it was Giants Life, that it showed that Brian Daboll was the one that was really trying to go for Jackson Dart. Well, guess what? There still has to be a trade to be done, right? There still has to be negotiations that have to have been had. And Joe Schoen was the one able to do that. And, again, really to your point, John, is I love Jackson Dart. I love what I'm seeing. I don't even want to tell you who I'm comparing him to when I'm watching all these clips because it's way too early to say it. But if he is a hit, which it looks like it is so far, that's a great trade. And if you look at the quarterbacks that came out of this class, he's probably the best quarterback out of this class so far, right? Again, Joe Schoen made the trade for Brian Birds, who's second place in sacks this year. Like, he made that trade. So, like, as much as he may be missing, like, what do we expect out of a GM to hit every single draft and every single trade possible? Now, here's where I will say, like, he needs to pick up the slack. We have no receivers. Like, once Malik Neighbors went down, it was when you have Darius Slayton as your number one, I'm sorry. Like, I love Slayton. Not sure about that signing we did with him, but that's where we fall short, and that's where it's like we need to be a little bit more aggressive on getting better weapons and whatnot. However, we're working with a salary cap that we didn't really have that much money to work with.
Right, Julian. I think if you don't trade that second-round pick to move up for Dart last year, you might have used that pick in a wide receiver. You know what I mean? I think we did the show in the summer, and I think if it was we could add one player at any position, what position we had him at, I think I picked receiver. I mean, I think we all knew that was one of the spots that was going to be a little bit shallow, and I believe all of us when we had our show, who is the player you could least afford to lose this year, I believe all of us selected Malik Neighbors. At least Matt and I did.
It was either Malik Neighbors or Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, and you know what? Let's
choices.
Go back to Jalen Hyatt for a second. Were we all not yelling on Twitter to get him? I'm not you guys. For the fans.
No,
like, the
absolutely.
Fans sometimes forget. John, I'm a fan. I'm a Twitter Giants follower. When Jalen Hyatt was still available, we were yelling, "Get Hyatt, grab him!"
Julian,
grab him,
Julian, I had people calling me in March that year that wanted to draft both him and John Michael Schmitz in the first round of that year's draft.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
first round.
I love. I'm speaking for the choir here. I am a Giants fan. I am speaking to all Giants fans. We need to sometimes come back to reality and realize, like, we're the ones yelling for this. And I live in Miami, and guess what? They were tanking for Tua hashtag a couple years ago, right? Tank for Tua, tank for Tua, tank for Tua. Now they're not happy with it, and they're blaming the GM. They're blaming the head coach. They're blaming everybody down here, even though they won 3 games in a row, but that's neither here nor there. But, like, we asked for this kind of stuff. So what do you want? Like, you're yelling at Joe Schoen on Twitter and calling in the Giants, the show over here, telling John and Paul and Matt and everyone we should draft John Michael Schmitz in the first and second round or Jalen Hyatt in the second and third round, and we're doing it, and then we're going after the GM's head for doing things that we're like begging for. So I just think we need to take a step back. The Brian Birds trade is a great trade. Yes, can we all agree there? I mean, look at that. He's second place in sacks.
No, Julian,
when it should be Kayvon Thibodeau, when we thought it would be even Abdul Carter, but, like, we made a trade for that player. Now, I'm going to make my last point. I'm going to get off the air. I know I'm ranting here.
No, you're fine.
I know that in the past couple of years, what we've gone with, it's been after Tom Coughlin, it was Ben McAdoo, it was Pat Shurmur, Joe Judge is a special teams coach. Don't really count that, but then we went over to Brian Daboll. So that's 4 coaches. Three out of the 4 all offensive minded. And I even think Joe Judge had offensive experience, correct? Or did he come from the defensive side of the ball?
He was a little bit of both, I think. Yeah, but yeah,
little bit of both.
Yeah,
Okay.
but he was primarily specials.
I think I'm ready. And again, I'm just a fan, just a Twitter following fan over here. I think I'm ready to step, and there's like, things going out there that we want like a CEO type of coach. I think I'm ready for a defensive-minded guy here. And when you look at that defensive roster, I mean, when you really put it down on paper, granted, people need to be healthy. Adebo needs to be healthy. All these guys, when we were looking at it preseason, we already were talking about how awesome this Giants defense is going to be. I'm so ready to bring a DC in and make him the head coach and get a great offensive play caller on the offensive side of the ball. Let him handle that side, very much like how the Commanders are doing
but Julian, that's the tough part, though. Can you find the great offensive play caller for the defensive-minded head coach?
Why not? Why not Vic Fangio? I don't know if the only argument I've had with my friends down here is that they have heard that was his last stop in Philly. But
I'm not sure he wants to.
I was gonna say, from what I've read, the vibes are that he.
And thanks, Julian. Appreciate it.
I don't know if he wants to be a head coach again.
Sounds like he's just happy being a DC, right?
That's now obviously things can change very quickly, but that seems to be the vibes that are being sent out from even before he got to Philly. Yeah. It seemed like he was like, I'm done being a head coach. I'm happy just coaching the defense.
All right, 2 points that he made that I want to touch on. One, has every draft pick worked out? No. I think the strategy and the approach has been sound. The way he thinks about this has been sound. Try to approach it from the inside out, deep front, whether it's defense or offense or whatever. Now, again, everything hasn't worked, but that happens in the draft sometimes. So the Giants will make whatever decision they make after the year. The idea that because of one 15-second clip on Hard Knocks, people have drawn the conclusion that Joe Schoen was really not that in favor of drafting Jackson Dart might be the most annoying, dumbfounding, idiotic thing that I've read this year. And that's saying something. It's saying something. Do you know how many hours of meetings they probably had talking about Jackson Dart? Hours and hours and hours with scouts, the GM, Dennis Hickey, Brandon Brown. Go through the whole list of everybody that's on the personnel side. Guys, if Joe Schoen didn't think Jackson Dart was a potential long-term franchise starter at quarterback, he would not have drafted him.
We would not have traded up to draft him.
Bingo.
That's like the thing that drives me crazy as well. I'm like, the GM, first of all, the GM is the one that makes the final call. It's his decision. And to then not only draft Jackson Dart, but to trade up and trade future draft picks in order to make the move for him. Clearly, he had confidence in him as well. I agree with you. That's been the most annoying narrative that I've seen online of anything that's being said about, this franchise right now.
This might be, in Joe Schoen's life, the only chance he has to draft a guy that could be a franchise quarterback. The only time in his whole life that he has a chance to draft one guy to play the most important position on his football team. If you think he's just going to say, I'm not a fan, but if you like him, sure, why not? No, this isn't you co-drafting somebody for your fantasy football team in like round 6. Oh, who do you want? Do you want Jalen Waddle or do you want the Roma Dunze? You could pick. I don't care. That's not how this works. It's not how this works. Like, are you kidding me? It's the dumbest possible thing that anyone could believe.
I'm with you. Like, there's plenty of things that can be said in criticizing the Giants this season.
Yes.
And I get almost all of it, but that narrative that I've seen, I agree with you, is just so absurd. I don't see how, again,
I have trouble even arguing against it because it doesn't make so little sense.
From a 10-second clip on Hard Knocks. That's what all this comes from. Or Giants life. It's crazy.
So the clip that people is when he goes, we got you your guy. Was that the quote that people are like making the big deal about?
I think that was it.
I mean, my gosh, people, use your noodles. Have some, and again, most of the people that listen and call into the show know better, but just use your noodle a little bit. Have some understanding of how the process works and the amount of time and the conversation and the collaboration that goes on between the coaching staff and the front office to select these guys. And to use a first-round pick on a player, I mean, Joe has said this, you have to have consensus on that player, especially at quarterback.
I was going to say, that collaboration you were just talking about, that goes for every single pick in the entire draft that the team has. So especially if you're willing to make a move, a trade up, trade additional draft picks to move into the first round to take a quarterback, the fact that some people think that it wasn't a total collaborative move, it is mind-boggling.
Yeah, I don't have a great answer for it. I mean, it's just the fact that a general manager who's trying to, just from a selfish perspective, show that he's a good general manager, right? Like, would just cede the most important. I mean, guys, I'm not being overblown here. They picked Malik Neighbors, 6 overall?
6, yep.
They selected Abdul Carter, 3rd overall. They selected Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau back-to-back, 6 and 7. 5 and 6. 5 and 7. Sorry, 5 and 7. You're right. My bad.
Ikwanu was the one pick in between them.
With all of that, you know who Joe Shane's most important draft pick might be? And who is probably going to be one way or the other? It's going to be Jackson Dart. And if you think he's just going to cede his power and authority to make that pick to somebody else, it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's just not how it works.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I agree that is for sure his most important pick. I don't think anyone's going to doubt that because of the position. I mean, not to harp on the past, but if you look back at Dave Gettleman's first round picks, Daniel Jones was obviously one of them. It clearly did not pan out, and that he no longer is a general manager in the NFL. You look at some of the other picks he had.
Dave might have drafted 3 Hall of Famers.
Very, very good players.
Saquon Barkley.
And that still clearly wasn't enough to save him.
Saquon
because
Barkley.
the quarterback didn't pan out.
Sorry. Saquon Barkley might be a Hall of Famer. Dexter Lawrence has a chance to be a Hall of Famer. Andrew Thomas, if he stays healthy in his whole career, has a chance to be a Hall of Famer. Now, are any of those 3 written in stone that it's going to happen? No. But they have a chance.
They're all very good players, though.
They're all
undoubted. Like, there's no argument there. They are all very good players.
All pro caliber players.
Yes.
2 of them have made all pro teams. I don't think Andrew's made one yet, right? Oh no, he was a second teamer. He was a second team all pro, right?
He didn't make the Pro Bowl that year,
which is ridiculous.
No sense,
correct.
But.
Yeah. So all 3 guys have made all pro teams.
But the one pick that really did not pan out was the quarterback, and that's what led to him not being a GM anymore.
Correct. So trust me, guys. Joe Shane liked Jackson Dart too, and he wanted him. You can call up and yell at me if you want. That's the truth. Mike in Virginia. He's going to wrap us up today. Hi, Mike.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
We're good.
Just want to vent real quick, man.
Sure.
I listen to y'all all the time, man. I call in once in a while when it really just gets to me. Good or bad, you know.
No, I get it. I get it.
Why is it just so hard for us to be a functioning team? Like, I'm sitting here listening to y'all, and I'm just going through it. Like, 11 was the last. No. We won it in 11. And then after 11, what was it? In 16, we made the playoffs?
Yep, and then 22.
11 to 16 was horrible. And then we made it again in 22.
Yep.
Like, you see the gap here, and in between those two,
it's
those
bad.
2 playoff runs was horrible football. And it's like, we get players, like you just said, right, arguably. We had Barkley, who was arguably one of the top running backs. We had Beckham, arguably one of the top wideouts, and we could not do anything. We consistently missed on players, tackles, the way, like, you know, going back how Eli's last couple years were where the line was trash, and it was just like, what is going on with the organization? Now, I was always a big Daniel Jones fan from the Danny Dimes mania that went on from his first, his first preseason game when he was accurate out of this world. And it was like, oh, man, we might have found Eli's replacement. And then that fell apart. And it was just like it could not get right. And now he's over there having all of this success. And it's like, damn, man, what is going on with this organization? Like, why is it so hard to hit on players where, like, we're missing on coaches, coach carousel every other year? Then we finally settle in on one, and, dude, we got 2 wins, man. I mean, sometimes all you can do is laugh at it, but it's like, this is not how this team is supposed to be. Like, Dexter Lawrence is one of the top D tackles in the league. Our defense, on paper, right, arguably a top-tier defense. And we can't stop. I don't even want to curse, man. But, we can't stop nothing. The offense, for the past couple of years, we have had a problem scoring. All of a sudden, we can manufacture some touchdowns. But now we can't even stop it. We can't stop anything on defense. Last year, at least, the defense was doing something. And this year, we can't. It's just like, what is going on? Then, you have I don't want to put everything on Dable because, I'm a coach myself, man, so I know how it goes. But it's just like, what is going on where you lose Wink, right? And then you hear the rumblings, you hear the rumors, and you know how it goes. Where there's smoke, there's fire, or however the saying goes. But it's like you lose Wink, you lose that D coordinator. And then Kafka comes in, and there was the rumblings of how he would, throw fits or whatever when Kafka would make a call, and he would want to change it. And then if the call doesn't go right, he's flipping on Kafka. And it's like, I just want us to just go back to just being a good organization, developing our players correctly, right, and winning some damn football games, man.
Mike, I'll put it this way. I think the answer from me that I've learned over the course of, I've been here since 2007, so I've been through some really good teams and some really not so good teams. Mm-hmm. It's never just one thing, right? I think a lot of times, and look, we've had this conversation a million times. Well, if you get rid of Pat Shurmur, everything's going to be better. All right, if you just change the quarterback, everything's going to be great. If the offensive line just finally starts playing better, everything's going to work. Just get a better defensive coordinator, everything's going to be fixed. Yet, over the course of this stretch that you're talking about, you've seen changes or improvements in every one of those spots where things have gotten better, but the results don't change. So to your point, I think it's a very holistic thing. And it goes back to the draft conversation, Matt, we were having a little bit a while ago. You just have to keep drafting good players, build out a solid team from top to bottom, and then eventually the wins will come. And until you start winning more games, Mike, that's what it kind of looks like, right? Things are always changing. Guys are yelling at each other. Guys get mad. Guys fight. When you constantly lose, that's going to happen. You will not find many super smooth, well-run teams that consistently win 5 games a year. That's just not how it works. If you lose games, it's human nature. This is the type of stuff that's going to happen. So you have to start winning games. How do you start winning games? By drafting well, right? And bringing in good people and having good coaches and all that sort of stuff.
Too.
All that. No,
and
100%.
Like we've been having an issue with our coaching.
Mike, like I said, it's never just one thing. It's never just one thing. It's everything all together. Absolutely right. All right, Mike.
Right. Hey, appreciate it, fellas. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you, Mike.
It's hard for me to put, I can't put a finer point on it because it's just been so many different things.
Yeah, look, I know it's kind of cliche, but there's a reason why every single week the conversation is about playing complementary football, because it's not just one thing that's going to win you a game or games, have a successful season. It's everything working together, and that goes beyond just the field as well. That goes with the whole collaboration process between the front office and the coaching staff. It takes everyone to put together a, I'm not even going to say functional because you want to be above that organization. You need everything working together and working well and everything kind of hitting. If one aspect of the process completely fails, it doesn't matter how good the other one is. The whole thing is going to come apart, and that's what we've seen.
Back to my point before. You could draft really good players. If the coaches don't develop them properly, it doesn't matter if you drafted good players.
Yeah. You could have a great offense, but if your defense is awful and can't stop the team, you're not going to win games.
What do we talk about this offseason? Perfect example. The Giants' pass rush is going to be awesome. Well, guess what? If you can't stop the run and you can't cover anybody, it doesn't matter a whole damn lot if you have a really good pass rush. That's what we learned.
Yeah. We said one of the points that you said before, the examples, if the Giants just had the quarterback, then everything would be fixed. Well, at least in 7 games, it's looked like the Giants have had the quarterback. Yeah, what's the record in those 7 games?
2-5.
Because it's not complementary football. You can't just rely on one thing to expect to carry you to wins, multiple wins, championships. It takes everyone working together and working well. And
this is probably the best offensive line the Giants have had since 2012.
Yeah.
Maybe 2016.
I was going to say, you look back at the last 2 Super Bowl teams of the Giants, what was the glare, at least in terms of the players or coaches, where was the glaring weakness?
Right.
There wasn't. It was everyone was at the very least solid, if not great, at their position, and everyone played together, and they played complementary football. You had a good defense. You had a solid offensive line. You had Eli at quarterback, the running backs between Bradshaw and Jacobs, the various wide receivers, obviously a little different between 07 and 11, but it was everyone working together and playing together, and a front office that meshed well with the coaching staff and worked well and collaborated. All of it came together, and it led to 2 Super Bowl championships.
And you just got to keep building and try to build that out, and just it takes time. Too much time. No argument. But that's really all you can do. You can't rush it. If you try to rush it, that's when you start getting yourself into bad situations. So it is what it is. This was fun, Citak.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure.
Do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Giants and Lions, again, folks, a lot of good stuff coming your way. We're on WFAN with Big Blue Kickoff Live Saturday morning, 7 a.m. Mark Malusis and I take your calls, talk Giants football. And then we have our pregame show at 11 a.m. on Sunday on The Fan here in New York. Tiki Barber and I get you ready for kickoff at 1 o'clock. I mentioned it before. Go check out the Giants Huddle podcast. It's up this week. I talked to Isaiah Hodgins about his whirlwind week last week, his game over the weekend, and then, of course, the game against the Lions. We have a good Lions preview in there. Mike Kafka with Bob Papa as well. You can find that on your favorite podcast platform. And the video of the Hodgins interview is on all of our other stuff, whether it's the app, Giants.com, Giants YouTube channel, and also on Giants TV, by the way, which you should download and stream on any of your smart TVs, Roku, Apple TV, whatever one you have. Go download it. It has all our highlights, all of our shows, all that good stuff. Go check it out on Giants TV. That's all the time we have for Big Blue Kickoff Live on this Friday. It's all brought to you by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. Coming to you live from the Hackensack Meridian Health Podcast Studio. Keep getting better. For Citak, I'm Schmeelk. We'll talk to you this weekend. Have a good one.